Good evening. This is Daniel Rothman, and you're tuned to 104.7 FM. It's 11:47 p.m. on what I can only describe as one of the strangest nights I've experienced in my 15 years behind this microphone. I'm broadcasting from our studio in downtown, and I need to be completely honest with you right now. Something is happening in our city tonight. Something I don't fully understand yet, but something that demands we stay connected, stay informed, and above all, stay calm. I've been receiving calls for the past 2 hours. Emily, my assistant, has been fielding them in the other room, and the pattern is disturbing. At first, it was just a few people reporting unusual behavior in the streets near the industrial district. Then more calls came in. Then the calls stopped making sense. Then people started calling about violence. Real violence. Not the kind you see on the news from somewhere else. The kind happening right now, blocks away from where some of you are sitting. Let me start from the beginning, because I think we all need to understand how we got here. Around 9:30 this evening, the first call came in from a woman named Sarah. She lives in the Riverside Apartments about 3 blocks from the Westfield Industrial Complex. She told Emily that there was an unusual smell in the air, thick and chemical like burning plastic mixed with something medicinal. She said it made her eyes water. She said her neighbors were coming outside, coughing, asking each other if anyone else could smell it. I remember Emily mentioning it to me during the commercial break. We both thought it was probably just the industrial complex burning off waste or something. You know how it is around here. That facility has been operating for decades. There have been complaints before. The city always promises to investigate, and nothing ever really changes. But this felt different to Sarah. She said the smell was stronger than anything she'd experienced before. She said it seemed to be getting worse, not better. By 10:15, we had 5 more calls from the same area, all of them describing the same thing. A thick, yellowish smoke drifting through the streets. People feeling dizzy, children crying, some people vomiting. One man, I remember his name was Marcus, he said he saw the smoke moving like fog, low to the ground, spreading between buildings. He said it looked wrong somehow, unnatural. Those were his words, not mine. I should have paid more attention. I should have understood what was happening. But how could I? How could any of us? At 10:30, the police scanner started going crazy. Emily has it running in the back office, and she came rushing into the studio during a song. She looked pale. She said there were multiple reports of assaults near Riverside, domestic disturbances, public fights, people acting erratic. The dispatcher was sending units to at least 7 different locations within a 4-block radius, all of them in the same area where the smoke had been reported. That's when I started to connect things. That's when I realized this wasn't just an industrial accident and some unrelated crime wave. Something in that smoke was affecting people. I tried calling the non-emergency police line. Busy. I tried the fire department. No answer. I called City Hall, even though I knew no one would be there at this hour. Nothing. Emily tried contacting the hospital. The line rang, and when someone finally picked up, they said they couldn't talk. They were overwhelmed with patients, and then they hung up. We're journalists, or at least we're supposed to be. Our job is to inform, to stay rational, to present facts. But right now I'm sitting here looking at my notes, looking at the messages Emily keeps bringing me, and I'm struggling to find the facts. What I have instead are fragments, pieces of something terrible that I'm trying to assemble in real time while it's still happening, while it's still spreading. Let me tell you what I know for certain. The Westfield Industrial Complex is a waste management facility. It's been there since the 1970s. They handle all kinds of industrial and medical waste for the county. Hazardous materials, expired pharmaceuticals, chemical byproducts, things that can't just be thrown in a landfill. They're supposed to dispose of it safely. They have permits, they have inspections, they have regulations. But here's something interesting. 3 months ago, there was a local news story about a pharmaceutical company, Medicorp Solutions, that had negotiated a contract with Westfield to dispose of a massive quantity of expired medications. We're talking about tons of pills, capsules, syrups, everything you can imagine. The medications had been sitting in warehouses for years, well past their expiration dates, and the company needed to get rid of them to clear space and avoid fines. The story barely made a ripple. It was on page 6 of the local section. Emily found the article in our archives about 20 minutes ago. She's good at that, connecting dots. The disposal was supposed to happen over several weeks following strict protocols, but according to the article, there were concerns raised by an environmental group. They argued that burning pharmaceutical waste, especially in such large quantities, could release dangerous compounds into the air. They filed a complaint with the EP. The complaint was dismissed. The company provided assurances. The city approved the process, and we all moved on with our lives. Until tonight. I'm looking at the clock now. It's 11:58. In 2 minutes, it'll be tomorrow. And I have a feeling tomorrow is going to be very different from today. Emily just handed me another note. She's been monitoring social media, and there are videos being posted from Riverside. People are filming from their windows. I haven't watched them yet. I'm not sure I want to. But she says they show people in the streets attacking each other, not fight attacking. She says it doesn't look like normal violence. She says the people look wrong. I need to be careful here. I need to be responsible. I can't spread panic. But I also can't lie to you. If you're in the Riverside area, if you can smell that chemical odor, if you're feeling dizzy or sick, you need to get inside. Lock your doors. Close your windows. Do not go outside. Do not engage with anyone who seems to be acting strangely. The police are aware of the situation. I'm certain of that. The sheer volume of calls they're receiving guarantees it. But I haven't heard any official statement yet. No press release, no emergency broadcast. Nothing from the mayor's office or the emergency management coordinator. We're in this strange limbo where everyone knows something is wrong, but no one in authority is telling us what to do about it. Maybe they don't know either. Maybe they're just as confused as we are. Let me read you something. This is from the EPA website, and Emily printed it out for me. It's about pharmaceutical waste incineration. Quote, the combustion of pharmaceutical compounds can produce a complex mixture of byproducts including dioxins, furans, and volatile organic compounds. When multiple drug classes are incinerated simultaneously, chemical interactions may occur at high temperatures, potentially creating novel psychoactive or toxic substances not present in the original materials. Proper filtration and temperature control are essential to prevent atmospheric release of these compounds. End quote. Novel psychoactive substances. That's the phrase that sticks with me. Novel. As in new. As in something we haven't seen before. As in something we don't know how to treat or counteract. What if that's what happened tonight? What if Westfield was burning too much too fast without proper controls? What if the incinerator temperature wasn't right, or the filters weren't adequate, or they were just cutting corners to save money? What if all those expired medications, hundreds of different drugs with hundreds of different chemical compositions, what if they melted together, reacted with each other, created something new? And what if that something is now in the air, in people's lungs, in their bloodstreams, in their brains? I'm speculating. I know I am, but speculation is all I have right now. It's 12:04 a.m., officially a new day. Friday, December 6th. Emily just came back in. She looks shaken. She says the videos are getting worse. She says more people are posting them. She says the violence is spreading beyond Riverside. Reports are coming in from Brookfield, from Oak Street, from the warehouse district, all downwind from the industrial complex, all places where that smoke would have drifted. I asked her if anyone in the videos looks normal, if anyone looks like they're trying to help. She said no. She said everyone in the footage looks either terrified or, and she struggled with this word, feral. That's what she said, feral. I've been doing radio for a long time. I've covered hurricanes, floods, that factory explosion back in 2019. I've delivered bad news before, but I've never had to tell people that their neighbors might be dangerous, that the air itself might be poisonous, that we might be dealing with something unprecedented. The phone lines here are ringing constantly now. We can't answer them all. Emily is doing her best, but for every call she takes, 5 more come in. People want answers. They want to know if their families are safe. They want to know what to do, and I can't give them those answers because I don't have them. One call that Emily did take, she relayed this to me, was from a nurse at Mercy Hospital. The nurse wouldn't give her name, but she said the emergency room is in chaos. She said they've admitted over 40 patients in the last 2 hours, all with similar symptoms: aggression, confusion, fever, dilated pupils, complete loss of pain response. She said one patient bit through their own tongue and didn't seem to notice. She said another patient broke their own fingers trying to break through a restraint and showed no reaction to the injury. The nurse said the doctors are baffled. They've tried sedatives, antipsychotics, everything in their arsenal, and nothing is working. The patients just become more agitated. Some of them have to be physically restrained by multiple security guards. And here's the disturbing part. The nurse said that some of the hospital staff are starting to show symptoms too. People who were fine an hour ago are now complaining of headaches, irritability, visual disturbances. The hospital is near Riverside. The smoke would have reached there easily. I'm trying to think about the science here, trying to understand what could cause this. Psychoactive substances affect neurotransmitters in the brain. Different drugs target different systems. Stimulants increase dopamine and norepinephrine, depressants enhance GABA, hallucinogens affect serotonin. But what happens when you combine dozens or hundreds of different compounds? What happens when they interact in ways we've never studied? The human brain is incredibly complex. It's delicate. It evolved over millions of years to maintain a precise chemical balance. When you introduce foreign substances, especially multiple substances at once, that balance can be disrupted in unpredictable ways. Judgment, fate, impulse control disappears. The parts of the brain responsible for empathy and social behavior shut down. The primitive parts, the parts concerned only with survival and aggression, take over. Is that what we're seeing? A citywide chemical lobotomy delivered through the air? God, I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is all just a coincidence. A bad night, a series of unrelated incidents that happen to occur at the same time. I hope that by sunrise everything will make sense and we'll all feel foolish for panicking. But I don't think that's what's happening here. Emily just showed me her phone. There's a video that's going viral locally. It was posted 19 minutes ago. It shows a street corner in Riverside, the intersection of 5th and Market. I know that corner. There's a convenience store there. I've stopped there for coffee 100 times. In the video, which was filmed from an apartment window across the street, you can see maybe a dozen people in the frame. They're not walking normally. They're stumbling, jerking, moving in this stuttering, uncoordinated way. Some of them are covered in blood. One man is shirtless and you can see injuries on his chest and arms, deep scratches, maybe bites, and he doesn't seem to notice them at all. He just keeps moving, keeps searching like he's looking for something. Then a car comes down the street, a sedan, dark-colored, driving too fast. It tries to swerve around the people in the road, but there are too many of them. The car hits someone, you can hear the impact even in the video, and the person goes flying. The car stops, that's the mistake, the driver stopped. Within seconds, the people in the street converge on the car. They're hitting the windows, pulling at the doors. The driver is trying to reverse, you can hear the engine revving, but there are people behind the car now too. The video ends before we see what happens next, but we can guess. That video has been viewed over 3,000 times in less than 20 minutes. People are sharing it, commenting on it, trying to understand it, and the comments are what worry me almost as much as the video itself. Because people are starting to panic, they're saying the word zombie, they're making jokes about the apocalypse, they're not taking this seriously or they're taking it too seriously, and both reactions are dangerous. This isn't a zombie outbreak. Zombies aren't real. This is a chemical exposure event. This is toxicology, not virology. These are people who have been poisoned, not people who have been infected with some supernatural contagion. The distinction matters. It matters because it affects how we respond. It matters because it means this can be treated, counteracted, stopped. At least I hope it can be. The time is 12:23 a.m. I've been on the air for over half an hour without playing a single song or taking a single commercial break. I apologize to our sponsors, but I think they'll understand this is more important. Emily just told me that the police scanner is reporting officers down, multiple officers, near Riverside Park. The dispatcher is calling for backup for ambulances, but I can hear the stress in her voice even through the scanner's static. Something went very wrong. Police officers are trained for confrontation. They have weapons, protective equipment, backup. If they're going down, if they're unable to handle the people they're encountering, then we need to reevaluate our assumptions about how dangerous this situation is. I want to talk directly to any law enforcement or emergency responders who might be listening right now. First, thank you. Thank you for being out there. Thank you for responding to this chaos when every instinct probably tells you to protect yourself and your family. But please be careful. Whatever these people have been exposed to, it's removed their ability to feel pain, to recognize danger, to respond to commands or threats. Normal crowd control techniques may not work. Physical restraint may not work. You may need to adapt your tactics in real time. And to everyone else listening, I need you to understand something. If you encounter someone who seems to be affected by this chemical exposure, do not try to help them. Do not try to reason with them. Do not approach them. I know that sounds cold. I know it goes against every humanitarian instinct we have. But these people are not in control of their actions. They're victims, yes, but they're also dangerous. Your priority is to protect yourself and your loved one. Get inside, stay inside, seal your windows and doors as best you can. If you have duct tape, use it around the window frames. If you have towels, stuff them under the doors. Turn off any ventilation systems that bring in outside air. You want to create a barrier between yourself and whatever is out there. If you're feeling any symptoms, dizziness, nausea, unusual irritability, visual changes. Take them seriously. Get to the interior of your home, away from windows and outside walls. Drink water. Stay calm. Monitor your symptoms. If they get worse, if you feel like you're losing control, isolate yourself. Lock yourself in a room if you have to. I know how that sounds. I know how extreme that is, but we don't fully understand what this chemical does yet. We don't know if exposure is cumulative. We don't know if there's a threshold beyond which the effects become irreversible. I wish I had better information. I wish I could tell you that help is on the way, that the authorities have a plan, that this will all be resolved by morning. But I can't tell you those things because I don't know if they're true. What I can tell you is that we're not going anywhere. 24.7 FM will stay on the air as long as we have power and as long as Emily and I are able to broadcast. We'll keep you informed. We'll relay any official information we receive. We'll be your connection to what's happening out there. You're not alone in this. Remember that. Whatever happens tonight, however bad this gets, we're all in it together. Emily is waving at me through the glass. She's holding up her phone with a news alert. Let me see what this is. Okay, this is the first official statement. It's from the mayor's office, posted on the city website at 12:31 a.m. Let me read it to you verbatim. The city is aware of reports of unusual activity in several neighborhoods this evening. Emergency services are responding to multiple incidents. Residents are advised to remain indoors and avoid the following areas: Riverside, Brookfield, Oak Street District, and the Warehouse District. Further information will be provided as it becomes available. This is a developing situation. That's it. That's the entire statement. No mention of the smoke. No mention of the industrial complex. No mention of chemical exposure. Just avoid certain areas and stay in. I understand they're probably still assessing the situation. I understand they don't want to cause panic. But people deserve more than this. People deserve to know what they're dealing with. Maybe the mayor doesn't know either. Maybe the emergency management team is just as overwhelmed as the rest of us. Maybe they're having the same conversation we're having here in the studio, trying to piece together incomplete information, trying to decide what to tell people without knowing all the facts. Or maybe they know more than they're saying. Maybe they know exactly what was being burned at that facility tonight. Maybe they know what chemicals were involved. Maybe they're consulting with toxicologists and pharmaceutical experts right now, trying to figure out if there's an antidote, a treatment, a way to reverse the effects. If that's the case, I hope they find answers quickly, because every minute that passes, more people are being exposed. More people are breathing in whatever is still lingering in the air. More people are going to start showing symptoms. It's 12:41 now. The night is quiet here in the studio. Outside through our window, I can see the city lights. Everything looks normal from here. The buildings are still standing. The street lights are still on. If I didn't know better, if I wasn't reading these reports, I could convince myself that nothing was wrong. That somewhere out there, people are sleeping peacefully, dreaming ordinary dreams, completely unaware that anything has changed. But something has changed. Something fundamental. I can feel it. Emily just came in again. She's been monitoring the videos and social media posts, and she says the affected area is expanding. Reports are now coming from Hillside, from the college campus, from Northgate. That's a much larger area than initially thought. If the wind carried the smoke that far, if the contamination is that widespread, then we're not talking about a neighborhood emergency. We're talking about a citywide crisis. The population of this city is roughly 340,000 people. If even a fraction of them were exposed, if even 10% start showing symptoms, that's 300 people. The hospital can't handle that. The police can't handle that. The entire emergency response infrastructure of this city can't handle that. And what about surrounding areas? What about the suburbs, the smaller towns downwind? What about the county, the state? When does this become their problem too? I'm trying not to spiral into worst-case scenarios here. I'm trying to stay focused on what we know, not on what we fear. But it's hard. It's hard to look at the information in front of me and not extrapolate it forward, not to see where this is heading. Someone sent an email to the station. Emily just forwarded it to me. It's from a chemist, someone who claims to have worked in pharmaceutical manufacturing for 20 years. I can't verify who this person is, but their explanation makes sense, so I'm going to share it. The chemist writes, pharmaceutical compounds are designed to be stable at room temperature but break down in specific ways when exposed to heat or stomach acid. When you incinerate multiple drug classes together, especially psychoactive medications like antipsychotics, antidepressants, stimulants, and opioids, the heat can cause complex chemical reactions. The breakdown products can combine in unexpected ways, creating new molecules with unpredictable properties. Some of these molecules could be highly lipophilic, meaning they easily cross the blood-brain barrier. Once in the brain, they could bind to multiple receptor types simultaneously, causing a cascade of neurological effects. This is uncharted territory. There's no research on this because no one has ever been stupid enough to do it intentionally. No one has ever been stupid enough to do it intentionally. That phrase hit me hard. Because someone did do it, maybe not intentionally, maybe not maliciously, but someone decided that burning all those medications at once was acceptable. Someone signed off on it. Someone said it was safe. And now we're living with the consequences. I keep thinking about the people who are affected, not as threats, not as dangerous elements to be avoided, but as victims. They're someone's parents, someone's children, someone's friends. They woke up this morning as themselves with their thoughts and memories and personalities intact, and now they're gone. Not dead, but gone in a different way, hollowed out, reduced to base impulses and animal aggression. Can they be saved? If the chemicals are flushed from their systems, if the exposure stops, will they recover? Or is the damage permanent? Has their brain chemistry been permanently altered? I don't know. The chemist who emailed us doesn't know. I doubt anyone knows. It's 1:03 a.m. I need to take a breath. I need to step back from the ledge of despair and remember why we're here. We're here to inform. We're here to help people make good decisions. We're here to be a voice of reason in an unreasonable situation. So let's talk practical steps. Let's talk about what you can do right now to increase your safety and the safety of your family. First, gather your supplies. You might be inside for a while. Make sure you have water, food, medications you need, flashlights, batteries. Check your phone charger. Make sure all your devices are charged. Communication is going to be crucial in the hours ahead. Second, prepare a safe room. Choose an interior room in your home, preferably one without windows, a bathroom, a closet, a basement, somewhere you can retreat if you need to. Stock that room with supplies. Think of it as a shelter within your shelter. Third, establish a communication plan with your family members and friends. If you get separated, if phone lines go down, where will you meet? What's your backup plan? Write this down. Don't assume you'll remember it in a crisis. Fourth, stay informed. Keep your radio on. Keep your phone nearby. Monitor official channels, but be skeptical of rumors and unverified reports on social media. In a crisis like this, misinformation spreads as fast as the truth. Fifth, and this is important, maintain your mental state. Fear is natural. Fear is appropriate. But panic is dangerous. Panic makes you do stupid things. Panic makes you take risks you wouldn't normally take. So breathe. Center yourself. Focus on what you can control. These are basic emergency preparedness steps, the kind of thing we should all do before any disaster. But tonight they feel more urgent, more necessary. Emily is back. She looks exhausted. I just realized she's been running back and forth for hours, taking calls, monitoring feeds, keeping me updated. I don't know what I'd do without her. She says the power is out in parts of Riverside. Not sure if it's storm damage, though there's no storm, or if something happened at the substation, or if it's deliberate. When the lights go out in an area where people are already losing control, where violence is already spreading, that's when things get truly dangerous. Darkness amplifies fear. It conceals threats. It makes rescue operations nearly impossible. The police scanner is reporting that emergency services are no longer responding to calls from certain zip codes. That's not an official policy as far as I know, but I think it's a practical decision. If crews are being attacked every time they try to respond, if they're losing personnel, they have to pull back. They have to focus on areas where they can actually make a difference. That means people in the affected zones are on their own. No ambulances, no fire trucks, no police. Just them and whatever is happening in the streets outside their homes. I hope they have weapons. I hate saying that. I hate the implication. But if someone breaks into your home tonight, if someone who's been chemically altered and no longer feels pain or recognizes danger tries to hurt you or your family, you need to be able to defend yourself. A baseball bat, a kitchen knife, pepper spray, whatever you have. And you need to be mentally prepared to use it, because the person at your door might be your neighbor, might be someone you know, might be someone you had a conversation with just this morning about the weather or the game last night, but they're not themselves anymore. The chemical has taken that away. It's 1:24 a.m., almost 2 hours since the first call started coming in. It feels like days. I'm looking at a map Emily printed out. It shows the reported incidents color-coded by time. The early reports from 9:30 to 10:30 are all clustered in Riverside, right near the industrial complex. Then, as the night progressed, the incidents spread outward in a rough circle, following the wind direction. By 11:30, reports were coming from areas 3 miles away. By midnight, 5 miles. Now at 1:24, we're seeing reports from 7 or 8 miles out. If that pattern continues, if the contamination keeps spreading at that rate, the entire city will be affected by dawn. And I have no reason to think the pattern won't continue. The smoke doesn't care about city boundaries or neighborhood names. It just goes where the wind takes it. I wonder if the people in the suburbs are watching the news, seeing the reports from the city, and feeling grateful that they're far away, feeling safe in their quiet neighborhoods with their good schools and their community parks. I wonder if they realize that the wind doesn't stop at the city limits, that the air they're breathing right now might already be contaminated, that they might be hours or minutes away from experiencing exactly what Riverside is experiencing right now. There's a certain cruelty to this kind of disaster. It's invisible. You can't see the chemical in the air. You can't taste it, at least not until it's too late. You don't know you've been exposed until the symptoms start, and by then you might not care. By then your brain might be too altered to understand what's happening to you. Emily just told me something that made my blood run cold. She was scrolling through the video posts, and she noticed something. In the early videos, from 9:30 or 10 hour, the affected people looked confused, disoriented. They were stumbling, mumbling, not coordinated. But in the later videos, from midnight onward, they look different. More purposeful, more coordinated, like they're adapting, like they're learning. That doesn't make sense from a toxicology standpoint. Chemical damage to the brain should be relatively static. It shouldn't get better or worse over time, at least not quickly. But maybe we're not just dealing with damage. Maybe we're dealing with alteration. Maybe the chemical is changing how the brain functions, not just breaking it. I'm speculating again. I need to stop that. I need to stick to facts. Fact, people in multiple neighborhoods are exhibiting violent, erratic behavior. Fact, this behavior started shortly after a chemical smoke event near an industrial facility. Fact, the affected area is expanding. Fact, emergency services are overwhelmed. Fact, official response has been minimal and vague. Those are the facts. Everything else is fear and guesswork. It's 1:41 now. I should play some music. Give people a break from the constant stream of bad news. Give myself a break, but every time I think about putting on a song, I feel guilty. Like I'm abandoning people, like I'm pretending everything is normal when it's clearly not. So I'll keep talking. I'll keep you company through this dark night, because maybe that's what you need right now. Not music, not entertainment, but a voice. Someone telling you that you're not alone, that someone else is awake, aware, trying to make sense of this just like you are. If you're listening right now, wherever you are, whatever your situation is, I want you to know that I see you. I hear you. Not literally, of course, but spiritually. We're connected right now through these radio waves, through this shared experience. And that connection matters. It's important. Humans are social creatures. We're not designed to face threats alone. We're designed to gather around fires, to share stories, to warn each other of danger. That's what we're doing right now. This radio station is our fire, this broadcast is our shared story, and I'm doing my best to warn you of the danger I see. Emily is on the phone now. I can see her through the glass talking animatedly to someone. She looks concerned, she's writing something down, she's nodding, she's hanging up, she's coming in. She just told me that was a call from the State Emergency Management Agency. They're aware of the situation, they're monitoring it, they're preparing to deploy the National Guard if necessary, but here's the problem. They're not sure what they're deploying them to do. The situation is unlike anything they've trained for. It's not a natural disaster. It's not terrorism. It's not a conventional hazmat situation. It's something new. The person Emily spoke to, a coordinator named Phillips, said they're trying to get environmental teams into the affected areas to take air samples, to test the concentration of whatever is in the atmosphere, but they can't do that until the streets are secure, and the streets can't be secured while people are still being affected and becoming violent. It's a catch-22. They need information to respond effectively, but they can't get information until they've already responded. So they're making decisions blind, hoping for the best. Phillips told Emily that they're advising all residents within 10 miles of the Westfield Industrial Complex to shelter in place indefinitely. That's official now, not just my advice. Shelter in place. Do not leave your homes. Do not attempt to evacuate. The roads are too dangerous. You're safer where you are. He also said, and Emily made sure to write this down exactly, quote, "We are treating this as a level 4 chemical emergency with mass casualty potential. Federal agencies have been notified. All available resources are being mobilized. Citizens should prepare for an extended shelter-in-place order lasting at least 48 to 72 hours. End quote. 48 to 72 hours, 2 to 3 days. That's how long they think this will take to get under control. And that's assuming everything goes according to plan, which, let's be honest, seems unlikely at this point. Can you imagine? 3 days locked in your home, not knowing what's happening outside, not knowing if your friends and family are okay, not knowing if the danger is getting closer or farther away. 3 days of anxiety and fear and uncertainty. But we'll get through it. Humans are resilient. We adapt. We survive. We've survived worse things than this. Plagues, wars, famines, natural disasters that wiped out entire cities. This is bad, yes. This is unprecedented, yes. But it's not the end. It's a crisis, a terrible, tragic crisis, but it's one we can overcome if we stay calm and make smart choices. It's 2:03 a.m. now. The night is dragging on. My coffee is cold. My voice is getting hoarse. But I'm not stopping. I made a promise to you and I'm keeping it. As long as I can sit here in this chair, as long as this microphone works and the transmitter has power, I'll keep broadcasting. Emily says social media is starting to show posts from other cities. People asking if anyone has heard from friends or relatives in our city. People saying they're seeing smoke on the horizon even though they're 50 miles away. People reporting unusual smells in their own towns. Is it spreading beyond the immediate area? Or are people just panicking, imagining threats that aren't there? I don't know. I hope it's the latter. I hope this is contained to our region. Because if it's not, if this chemical cloud can travel that far, then we're looking at a regional catastrophe, maybe even national. And if it's national, if this is happening in multiple cities, if other pharmaceutical disposal sites have been burning the same kinds of materials, no, I can't go there. One crisis at a time. Focus on what's in front of you, Daniel. Focus on what you can control. Focus on helping the people who are listening right now, in this city, dealing with this situation. Someone just sent an email asking about pets. What should people do with their pets? Good question. Animals have different physiologies than humans. They might react differently to the chemical exposure, or they might react the same way, just faster because of their smaller size. If you have pets, keep them inside, keep them away from windows and doors, keep them in the same safe room where you're sheltering, give them food and water. Try to keep them calm. Animals pick up on our stress, so if you're panicking, they'll panic. Stay calm for their sake as well as your own. And if your pet starts acting strangely, if they become aggressive or disoriented, you need to isolate them. I know that's hard. I know you love your pets like family, but an affected dog or cat can still hurt you, still spread the chemical through saliva or by tracking it on their fur. Protect yourself first. It's 2:19 a.m. Emily is bringing me more notes, more updates from the scanner, from social media, from the few phone calls we're still able to take. There's a fire burning in the warehouse district, a big one. Multiple buildings. Fire department isn't responding because of the danger. They're letting it burn. The smoke from that fire is mixing with whatever is already in the air, creating a new hazard. If you're near the warehouse district, if you can see the orange glow in the sky, you need to get as far from it as possible. Move to the opposite side of your building. Seal yourself in. That smoke is toxic in ways we can't even measure right now. The hospital administrator sent an email. She says they've stopped admitting new patients. The emergency room is full. The hallways are full. They've set up triage in the parking garage. They're rationing medical supply. They're running low on sedatives, restraints, everything they need to manage violent patients. She says the staff is terrified. Several nurses have quit, just walked out mid-shift. She doesn't blame them. The administrator also said something that caught my attention. She said some of the affected patients are showing signs of organ failure. Kidneys, liver, heart. The chemical isn't just affecting their brains, it's damaging their entire bodies, which means even if we find a way to reverse the psychological effects, even if we can bring people back to themselves, they might still die from the physical damage. This just keeps getting worse. I need to talk about something else for a moment. I need to talk about hope. Because if all I do is report bad news, if all I do is catalog horrors, then I'm not really helping anyone. I'm just spreading So here's what I want you to know. This will end. This chemical will dissipate. The concentration in the air will decrease. Eventually, it will reach levels that are no longer dangerous. Eventually, you'll be able to open your windows and breathe freely again. Eventually, life will return to something resembling normal. It might take weeks. It might take months. The city might look different afterward. We might have lost people we care about. We might have scars, psychological and physical, that take years to heal, but we will heal, we will rebuild, we will adapt to this new reality and find ways to move forward. Because that's what humans do, that's what we've always done. We face the impossible and we survive it. We find strength we didn't know we had. We help each other. We create communities out of chaos. So don't give up. Don't surrender to fear. Don't assume the worst. Stay strong. Stay focused. Take care of yourself and the people around you. And trust that we'll get through this together. It's 2:41 a.m. The hours are blending together. Time feels both too fast and too slow. Every minute drags, but somehow we've already been at this for hours. Emily is monitoring the scanner again. She says there are reports of people trying to leave the city. Cars forming convoys, families packing up everything they can carry and heading for the highways. I understand the impulse. When danger is all around you, when your home no longer feels safe, the natural instinct is to run. But running might be the worst thing you can do right now. The highways will be clogged. Accidents will happen. Cars will run out of gas. And if you're showing early symptoms, if you've been exposed but don't realize it yet, you're just carrying the danger with you. You're spreading it to the places you flee to. That's how regional problems become national problems. That's how containment fails. So please, if you're thinking about leaving, reconsider. Stay where you are. Let the professionals handle this. Let the emergency management teams do their jobs. Your best chance of survival is staying put, staying calm, and waiting for help to arrive. I know that's asking a lot. I know it goes against every survival instinct you have. But trust me, trust the experts. Trust the people who have trained for scenarios like this. Even if those people seem overwhelmed right now, even if the response seems inadequate, it's still better than no response at all. It's still better than everyone acting independently, making individual decisions that might make sense for them but create chaos for everyone else. We need collective action. We need coordination. We need to think beyond ourselves and our immediate families and consider the greater good. That sounds preachy. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to lecture anyone. I'm just trying to give you the information you need to make good choices. Because the choices we make tonight in these crucial hours will determine how bad this gets. Emily just showed me something on her phone. It's a post from someone claiming to be inside the Westfield Industrial Complex. They say they're one of the workers who was there when the burning started. They say they tried to stop it, tried to tell their supervisors that something was wrong, that the incinerator was overheating, that the smoke was the wrong color, but they were told to keep working, to finish the job, that the company had a deadline to meet. I don't know if this post is real. I don't know if this person actually worked there or if they're just someone making up a story for attention. But if it's true, if workers saw the problem and raised concerns and were ignored, then someone needs to be held accountable. Someone needs to answer for this. Not tonight, not while the crisis is still unfolding, but eventually, when the dust settles, when we're counting the dead and calculating the damage, someone needs to explain how this happened, how corners were cut, how warnings were ignored, how profit was prioritized over safety. Because this wasn't an accident, this was negligence. And negligence that leads to mass casualties is a crime. But that's for later. For now, all that matters is survival. It's 3:07 a.m., the darkest part of the night, the time when everything feels hopeless, when exhaustion and fear combine to make you question everything. But dawn is coming. In a few hours, the sun will rise, and maybe with daylight, things will become clearer. Maybe we'll be able to see the full extent of the damage. Maybe help will arrive. Maybe solutions will present themselves that we can't see right now in the darkness. I have to believe that. I have to believe tomorrow will be better. Because the alternative is unthinkable. Emily is waving at me. She says we need to conserve power. The city's electrical grid is showing strain. Rolling blackouts are possible. If we lose power here, we lose the ability to broadcast. So we're going to shut down some of the non-essential equipment, keep the transmitter and the microphone running, but everything else goes dark. It's a good reminder that nothing is guaranteed. Not even electricity. Not even the basic infrastructure we take for granted every day. In a crisis, everything is fragile. Everything can fail. Make sure you have alternatives. Candles, flashlights, battery-powered radios. Ways to get information and light even if the power goes out. Don't depend entirely on the grid. It's 3:23 a.m. now. My eyes are burning. My throat is dry despite the water Emily keeps bringing me. But I'm here. I'm present. I'm doing my job. And my job is to keep you informed, to keep you company, to remind you that you're not facing this alone. So I'll keep talking. I'll keep broadcasting. And when Emily takes over in a few minutes, she'll do the same. Your connection to reality in a night that feels increasingly unreal.
Good morning. This is Emily Chen. For those of you just tuning in, or for those who don't recognize my voice, I'm Daniel's assistant here at 104.7 FM. Daniel has been broadcasting for the past several hours, and he needs to rest, so I'm taking over for a while. I'll be here with you until he's ready to come back. I want to start by saying that I'm not a professional broadcaster. I'm not trained for this. My job is usually behind the scenes, answering phones, managing schedules, doing research. But tonight, or I guess this morning now, nothing is usual, so here I am, sitting in Daniel's chair, looking at his notes, trying to figure out what to tell you next. The time is 3:47 a.m. It's Friday, December 6th, and our city is in the middle of something none of us could have imagined yesterday. Let me give you an update on what's happened since Daniel went to rest. The situation has continued to deteriorate. The affected area now extends approximately 9 miles from the Westfield Industrial Complex in all directions. That encompasses most of the metropolitan area, over 200,000 people potentially exposed. The hospitals have stopped reporting numbers because they can't keep up with the count. The State Emergency Management Agency issued a formal disaster declaration at 3:15 a.m. The governor has authorized the deployment of National Guard units, but they won't arrive until later this morning at the earliest. They're coming from bases 3 and 4 hours away, and even when they get here, no one is quite sure what they'll be able to do. This isn't a situation you can solve with soldiers and trucks. The mayor has declared a state of emergency and implemented a mandatory curfew. No one is allowed on the streets between now and further notice. Violators will be arrested. Although, honestly, I'm not sure how they plan to enforce that when the police are barely able to respond to emergencies, let alone patrol for curfew violations. I've been monitoring social media, news sites, the police scanner, everything I can access from this office, and the picture that emerges is one of a city coming apart at the seams. Not everywhere, not all at once, but in pockets, in zones. The infection, if you can call it that, the chemical contamination, is creating these islands of chaos, separated by areas of relative calm. If you're in one of the calm areas, if you look out your window and see quiet streets and dark houses, you might think this is all exaggerated. You might think the media is blowing things out of proportion. But I've seen the videos. I've read the reports. I've taken the phone calls from people who are barricaded in their homes, listening to their neighbors try to break down their doors. This is not exaggerated. This is real. I want to talk about what we know scientifically about what's happening, because understanding the mechanism might help us understand how to respond. Daniel mentioned earlier that pharmaceutical waste was being incinerated at the Westfield facility, tons of expired medications, everything from antibiotics to antipsychotics. When you burn organic compounds, you break down their molecular structure, but you don't destroy the atoms, you just rearrange them. And when you're burning hundreds of different drug compounds simultaneously, those atoms can recombine in unexpected ways. I found a research paper from 2019 that studied the byproducts of pharmaceutical incineration. It was conducted by a team at a university in Europe. They found that combustion temperatures, oxygen levels, and the specific mixture of drugs being burned all affected what came out the other end. In some cases, the byproducts were more dangerous than the original medications, more toxic, more likely to cause neurological damage. But that study was controlled, small scale. They knew exactly what they were burning and under what conditions. What happened at Westfield last night was uncontrolled, industrial scale. Who knows what was in that incinerator? Who knows what combinations of chemicals were created? What we're seeing in the affected population looks like a combination of several different drug effects happening at once. There's the aggression and loss of inhibition you might see with stimulant overdose. There's the confusion and disorientation you might see with anticholinergic toxicity. There's the loss of pain response you might see with opioid effects. And there's the persistent nature you might see with long-acting compounds. Put all of that together, and you get people who are angry, confused, impervious to pain, and unable to stop themselves. You get people who have lost everything that makes them human, except the basic biological functions. It's horrifying to think about. These are our neighbors, our community members, people we might have seen at the grocery store, or the gym, or church. And now they're reduced to this, not by choice, not by any fault of their own, by proximity, by bad luck, by breathing air that happened to be contaminated. There but for the grace of God go any of us. The time is 4:02 a.m. I'm looking at Daniel's notes, and I see he was talking about preparation, about what people should do to stay safe. I want to continue that conversation because I think it's important. I think giving people actionable steps helps reduce panic, helps them feel like they have some control in a situation where control is mostly an illusion. So let's talk about air quality inside your home. If you've sealed your windows and doors like Daniel suggested, you've created a barrier against the outside air. But air doesn't just come through windows and doors, it comes through vents, cracks, gaps around pipes and wires. Older homes especially can have dozens of small openings where air infiltrates. Check your bathroom and kitchen exhaust fans. Make sure they're off. If they have dampers, make sure they're closed. Check around your fireplace if you have one. Check your dryer vent. These are all potential entry points for contaminated air. If you have an HVAC system, turn it off. Don't circulate air. Don't bring in outside air for ventilation. Yes, your house will get stuffy. Yes, carbon dioxide levels will rise. But that's better than introducing the chemical compound into your home. For water, tap water should still be safe. The chemical contamination is airborne, not waterborne. Drink normally. Stay hydrated. If you start feeling symptoms, dehydration will make them worse. For food, eat what you have. Don't worry about rationing yet. We're not at that point. The authorities are saying 48 to 72 hours for the shelter-in-place order. Most people have enough food in their pantries and refrigerators to last that long without any problem. For sleep, try to rest in shifts if you're with family. Someone should always be awake and alert, monitoring the situation, watching for any signs of danger. I know that's exhausting. I know you're already tired, but staying vigilant could save your life. For communication, keep your phone charged, but don't overuse it. The cell networks are strained right now. Save your battery for emergencies. If you need to reach out to someone, send a text rather than calling. Texts use less bandwidth and are more likely to get through. And for mental health, which I think is just as important as physical safety right now, be gentle with yourself. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to cry or to shut down or to feel however you're feeling. There's no right way to respond to something like this. But try not to let the fear consume you. Try to find moments of calm, even if they're brief. Read a book, play a game with your kids, watch something comforting on your laptop. Do whatever helps you feel normal, even if just for a few minutes. The scanner just crackled with a new report. Fire crews are being called to multiple locations in the downtown area. Buildings are burning. Not sure if it's arson, accidents, or just systems failing without anyone to maintain them. The fire chief is requesting mutual aid from surrounding counties. But those counties have their own problems now. The contamination doesn't respect city boundaries. I'm seeing posts from people in the suburbs, in the small towns around us, saying they're smelling the chemical odor, saying they're seeing unusual behavior. The ripple effect is spreading faster than anyone anticipated. There's a map on the State Emergency Management website that shows confirmed exposure areas. When Daniel first went to rest, maybe an hour ago, the map showed contamination in about 30% of the metropolitan region. I just refreshed it. Now it shows 65%. In 1 hour, that's not a linear progression, that's exponential. If this continues, if the pattern holds, the entire metropolitan area will be affected by dawn, and dawn is only about 2 hours away. I wonder what it will look like in daylight. Right now, everything is hidden by darkness. The violence, the chaos, the transformation of our city into something unrecognizable. But when the sun comes up, we'll see it all clearly. And I'm not sure we're ready for that. I received an email a few minutes ago from a public health official who asked to remain anonymous. She said that her agency has been trying to coordinate a response, but they're hamstrung by lack of information. The company that owns Westfield, the one that contracted to dispose of the pharmaceutical waste, they're not cooperating. They're not releasing information about what was burned. They've lawyered up. They're citing proprietary information and liability concerns. So the toxicologists, the chemists, the medical professionals trying to figure out how to treat affected individuals, they're working blind. They're guessing. They're trying treatments based on symptoms rather than on actual knowledge of what chemical compound they're dealing with. The public health official said, and I'm paraphrasing, that this is a catastrophic failure of corporate responsibility and government oversight. She said that even after this is over, even after we've counted all the victims and treated all the survivors, we'll be dealing with the consequences for years. Environmental contamination, long-term health effects, legal battles, and the erosion of trust in institutions that were supposed to protect us. She's right. Even if we get through the next few days, even if the chemical dissipates and people stop being affected, the damage is done. The social fabric of this city has been torn. People will remember this. They'll remember being afraid in their own homes. They'll remember not being able to trust their neighbors. They'll remember feeling abandoned by the authorities. And they'll remember the people who died. Because people are dying. Let's not pretend otherwise. The hospital investigator who emailed earlier, she mentioned organ failure in affected patients. That means deaths. I don't know how many, The hospitals aren't releasing numbers, but it's not zero. It's not a handful. It's going to be significant. The time is 4:29 a.m. I can see the sky starting to lighten just a tiny bit through the window. Or maybe I'm imagining it. Maybe it's too early for that, but I feel like I can sense dawn approaching. That change in the air that happens right before sunrise. I hope dawn brings clarity. I hope it brings help. I hope it brings some kind of turning point where things start to get better instead of worse. But I'm not optimistic. I'm realistic. And realistically, the worst is probably yet to come. Let me read you something. This is a text message that was forwarded to me by someone who got it from a friend who got it from someone else. I can't verify its authenticity, but it claims to be from a National Guard unit that's en route to our city. The message says, briefed on situation. Chemical exposure, mass aggression, breakdown of civil order, rules of engagement unclear. Command doesn't know what we're walking into. Prepare for worst case scenario. God help us all. If that's real, if that's actually what the National Guard soldiers are being told, then even they're scared. Even the people with training and weapons and armor are approaching this with trepidation. What does that mean for the rest of us? I think it means we can't rely on being rescued. We can't wait for someone else to fix this. We have to take responsibility for our own survival. We have to be smart, be careful, be resourceful. The people who will make it through this are the ones who adapt quickly, who don't wait for permission or immersions, who assess their situation and make the best decisions they can with the information available. So assess your situation right now. Look around. Are you safe where you are? Do you have what you knew? Are there vulnerabilities in your defenses? Fix them now while you still can. Check your doors. Are they locked? Are they reinforced? Could someone break through them if they really tried? If the answer is yes, find ways to strengthen them. Move furniture against them. Use rope or belt to tie the handles. Do whatever you can to create barriers. Check your windows. Are they covered? Can people see inside? If they can, they might target your home. They might think you have supplies or safety or whatever their damaged brains are telling them to seek. Make your home look empty, dark, uninteresting. Check your supplies again. Food, water, medicine. Make sure you know exactly what you have and how long it will last. Ration if necessary. You don't know how long this will go on, regardless of what the official timeline says. And check the people you're with. Are they showing any symptoms? Irritability? Confusion? Aggression? If they are, you need to make a decision. Can you safely isolate them? Can you keep yourself protected while still caring for them? Or do you need to prioritize your own survival? I hate asking that question. I hate the implication. But this is a situation where normal rules don't apply. Where doing the right thing might get you killed. Use your judgment. Trust your instincts. And don't feel guilty about surviving. The scanner is reporting that the hospital has closed its emergency room. They're not accepting any more patients. They reached capacity. They're beyond capacity. People who need medical care now have nowhere to go. Think about what that means. If you're injured, if you're sick, if you have a medical emergency completely unrelated to the chemical exposure, you're on your own. No ambulance will come. No emergency room will treat you. You'll have to deal with it yourself. First aid knowledge is going to be crucial. If you don't know basic first aid, now would be a good time to learn what you can. There are videos online if you still have internet, articles, guides. Learn how to stop bleeding, how to treat burns, how to recognize signs of shock or infection. You might need that information before this is over. It's 4:51 a.m. now, almost 5 in the morning. I've been broadcasting for about an hour. It feels like longer. Time has this strange quality right now, where minutes feel like hours, but hours disappear in what seems like moments. Daniel should rest for at least another hour or two. He was running on empty when he finally agreed to take a break. I've never seen him like that. Daniel is usually so composed, so in control. But tonight, I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. Not the kind you can hide or rationalize away. I'm scared too. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. I'm scared for myself, for Daniel, for everyone listening, for the city, for the future. I'm scared that this won't end, that the chemical won't dissipate, that we'll be trapped in this nightmare indefinitely. But fear doesn't help. Fear just clouds judgment. So I'm pushing it down, compartmentalizing it, focusing on what needs to be done right now. Right now, I need to keep broadcasting, keep providing information, keep being a steady presence for people who are listening. Someone sent an email asking about children, how to explain this to children, how to keep them calm when you yourself are terrified. I don't have children. I'm not qualified to give parenting advice. But I think honesty is important to a degree. Don't lie to children. Don't tell them everything is fine when it clearly isn't. They'll sense the disconnect between your words and your emotions, and that will scare them more than the truth.
Tell them there's a problem. Tell them everyone is working to fix it. Tell them that staying inside is the safest thing to do right now. Give them tasks, simple things they can do to help. It'll make them feel less helpless.
And maintain routines as much as possible. Bedtime routines, meal routines, play routines. Kids find comfort in predictability. Even if everything else is chaotic, having some structure will help them cope. The email also asked whether children are more susceptible to the chemical effects. I don't know. I haven't seen any data on that. Logically, you'd think they might be, because of their smaller body mass. But I don't want to speculate. If your children are inside with you, if they haven't been exposed to the outdoor air, they should be fine. Watch them for symptoms, just like you'd watch any family member. Unusual aggression, confusion, complaints of headaches or visual disturbances. If you see any of those signs, isolate them if you can. I know that sounds impossible. I know you can't lock your own child away, but you might have to make impossible choices before this is over. The scanner just reported shots fired in multiple locations. Police are responding, but slowly, cautiously. They're treating every call as potentially hostile. They're going in with full tactical gear, multiple units, prepared for the work. I wonder how many police officers are still on duty, how many called in sick, or just didn't show up, choosing to protect their own families rather than serve the public. I wouldn't blame them if they did. This is beyond the scope of what they signed up for. It's 5:14 a.m. The sky is definitely lightening now. I can see it through the window, that deep purple that comes before dawn. In maybe 30 minutes we'll have sunrise, and then we'll see. I'm looking at the city map on my screen, the one that shows the affected areas. It's almost entirely red now, just a few pockets of yellow and green in the far suburbs. By noon, if the pattern continues, there won't be any green left. How do you evacuate a city of 340,000 people? You can't. Not in any organized way. Not when the roads are dangerous and the people are dangerous and the air itself is dangerous. Maybe the plan isn't evacuation. Maybe the plan is containment. Seal the city off. Let the chemical burn itself out. Deal with the aftermath later. That's a cold calculation. But I can see the logic. Save the regions outside the city by sacrificing the city itself. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that's not what they're planning. But I've seen enough disaster movies to know how these things go. The greater good. The trolley problem. Sacrifice the few to save the many. Are we the few? Are we expendable? I received a message from Daniel. He's awake. He says he'll be back in about an hour. He wants me to keep going until then. He says I'm doing well, that my voice is calming, that people need to hear from me. I don't feel like I'm doing well. I feel like I'm barely holding it together. But if Daniel thinks I'm helping, then I'll keep going. Let me talk about something practical again. Waste disposal. You're stuck inside for days, potentially. You're going to generate waste. Trash. Garbage. Human waste if your plumbing fails, which is possible if the water treatment plants go offline. Have a plan for this. Designate a bathroom that you'll use if the toilets stop working. Have trash bags available. Have bleach or disinfectant. Keep your living space as clean as possible. Disease spreads quickly in unsanitary conditions, and that's the last thing you need on top of everything else. If you have a yard, if you have access to outside space that's part of your property, you might consider setting up a temporary latrine, far from your house, downwind, covered to keep animals and insects away. It's primitive, but it works. Again, I hate that I'm talking about this. I hate that we're at the point where people need to think about medieval-level survival tactics. But here we are. The time is 5:37 a.m. The eastern sky is turning orange. Sunrise is maybe 10 minutes away. And I'm filled with this strange mixture of hope and dread. Hope that daylight will bring solutions. Dread of what we'll see when the darkness lifts. I'm thinking about the people who are affected right now. The ones who breathed in the chemical and lost themselves. Are they suffering? Do they know what's happening to them? Or is it like being in a dream, where everything feels distant and unreal? I hope they're not suffering. I hope whatever changes the chemical made to their brains also blocked their ability to distress. Because the alternative, that they're trapped inside their own bodies, aware but unable to control themselves, that's too horrible to contemplate. We have to find a way to help them. When this is over, when the immediate danger has passed, we have to dedicate resources to treating the affected, to bringing them back if possible. We owe them that. They're victims, not villains. But first, we have to survive. First, we have to make it through this day, and the next day, and however many days it takes for the chemical to clear. Someone is calling the main line. Emily picks up. It's rare now for calls to get through. The networks are so overloaded. It's a woman. She says she's trapped on the 3rd floor of an apartment building downtown. She says there are people in the hallway outside her door, trying to get in. She can hear them scratching at the wood, throwing themselves against it. She's barricaded herself in the bedroom, but she doesn't know how long the door will hold. She's crying, asking what she should do, asking if anyone is coming to help her. And I have to tell her that no one is coming, that emergency services aren't responding to that area, that she needs to stay quiet, stay hidden, and hope they lose interest and move on. She asks if she should jump. She says there's a fire escape, 3 stories up. She thinks she could survive the fall. I tell her not to jump. I tell her broken bones out there with no medical care available would be a death sentence. I tell her to stay where she is, to be patient, to wait them out. She says okay. She says she'll try, and then the line goes dead. I don't know if she lost signal or if something happened to her. I don't know if I'll ever know. And that's the worst part. All these people reaching out, asking for help, and all we can do is offer words, advice, empty comfort. It's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. But it's all we have. The sun is rising now. I can see it through the window, beautiful and terrible at the same time. The city is bathed in golden light, and from here, it looks peaceful. It looks normal, like any other Friday morning. But it's not normal. It's broken. And we're the ones who have to figure out how to fix it, if it can be fixed at all. This is Emily Chen, 104.7 FM. Daniel will be back soon. Until then, I'm here with you.
This is Daniel Rothman. I'm back. It's 6:23 a.m. Friday morning, December 6th. The sun is up, and what we're seeing is worse than I imagined. I managed to sleep for maybe 45 minutes. Not real sleep. That half-conscious state where your brain never fully shuts down because it knows there's danger. I dreamed about smoke, about people with empty eyes, about streets that looked familiar but felt alien. Emily did an incredible job while I was resting. I listened to some of her broadcasts from the back office, and she gave you everything you needed. Practical advice, honest assessment, compassion. I'm grateful to have her here with me. From up here on the 8th floor, I can see for miles. I can see the downtown skyline. I can see the residential neighborhoods spreading out in all directions. I can see smoke rising from at least a dozen different locations. I can see abandoned cars on the highway. I can see emptiness where there should be morning traffic, morning activity, morning light. When I woke up, Emily was still broadcasting, still holding down the fort. I made coffee, strong coffee. I looked at the notes she'd compiled. I looked at the messages that came in while I was gone, and I looked out the window at our city in daylight. But I can also see movement, and that's what troubles me. Emily just handed me an update from the State Emergency Management Agency. It was posted at 6 a.m. Let me read it to you in full because this is the most detailed official statement we've received so far. The chemical is still active, still affecting people, maybe affecting new people who got exposed overnight, maybe just maintaining its hold on the people it infected hours ago. There are people in the streets. Not many, not the crowds you'd expect on a normal Friday morning, but scattered individuals and small groups, moving with that same jerky, uncoordinated gait that Emily described from the videos. Even from this distance, even 8 stories up, I can tell they're not right. The way they move, the way they seem to be searching for something, hunting for something. Quote, at approximately 9:30 p.m. on December 5th, a chemical incident occurred at the Westfield Industrial Waste Management Facility, resulting in the atmospheric release of unknown toxic compounds. The affected area encompasses most of the metropolitan region and portions of surrounding counties. Symptoms of exposure include aggression, confusion, loss of pain response, and violent behavior. All residents within the affected zone are ordered to shelter in place until further notice. Do not attempt to leave your homes. Do not attempt to assist affected individuals. Emergency services are operating at limited capacity. The National Guard has been deployed and is establishing perimeter checkpoints. Federal agencies, including the EPA, CDC, and FEMA, are en route. This is a level 4 chemical emergency. Further updates will be provided every 2 hours. End quote. That's it. That's the official word from the state. And notice what's missing. There's no timeline for when this will be resolved. No mention of treatment for affected individuals. No assurance that help is coming for people who are trapped or in danger. Just shelter in place and wait. The National Guard is establishing perimeter checkpoints. That means they're sealing off the affected area. They're creating a cordon around the entire metropolitan region. No one in, no one out. Quarantine. I understand the reasoning. You can't let potentially affected individuals leave and spread the contamination to other areas. You can't let panicked refugees clog the highways and create secondary disasters. From a public health standpoint, containment makes sense. But from a human standpoint, it means we're on our own. The people inside this perimeter were cut off from the outside world. Whatever happens here, we have to deal with it ourselves. She also says there are rumors on social media that other cities are experiencing similar incidents. Pharmaceutical disposal facilities in 3 other states that were burning expired medications around the same time. Reports of unusual behavior, chemical smells, but nothing confirmed, nothing official. Emily is monitoring the news feeds. She says national media is starting to pick up the story. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, they're all running coverage, calling it a chemical disaster, comparing it to Bhopal, to Chernobyl, showing aerial footage of our city, presumably from news helicopters that are staying well outside the affected area. We're famous now, for all the wrong reason. Let me tell you what the last 6 hours have looked like based on the reports we've received. This is anecdotal, compiled from phone calls, emails, and social media posts, but it gives you a picture of how the night progressed. But right now, I need to focus on what's happening here. What's happening to the people listening to this broadcast. If this is happening in multiple places, if this is a systematic problem with how we dispose of pharmaceutical waste nationwide, then we're looking at a crisis that goes far beyond our city. We're looking at a fundamental failure of industrial safety practices that could affect millions of people. From 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. to escalation, affected individuals becoming more coordinated, more purposeful in their aggression. Groups forming, whether consciously or instinctively. Buildings being broken into, fires starting, the complete breakdown of order in the most heavily affected neighborhoods. From 10:00 p.m. to midnight, the initial wave of exposure. People in Riverside and surrounding neighborhoods breathing in the chemical smoke, first symptoms appearing within 15 to 30 minutes, disorientation, irritability, physical aggression toward family members and strangers. From midnight to 2:00 a.m., the spread, the chemical cloud drifting farther from the source, carried by wind patterns. New areas affected, more people showing symptoms. The first reports of people being bitten or attacked. The first deaths, though we don't have confirmed numbers. From 4:00 a.m. to now, the aftermath. The chemical concentration in the air slowly decreasing as it disperses and breaks down, but the damage already done. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people affected, infrastructure failing, emergency services paralyzed, and we're only about 9 hours into this. 9 hours since the first reports came in. The shelter-in-place order says 48 to 72 hours. That means we're not even halfway through the first day. We have at least another day and a half, maybe 2.5 days, before they even consider lifting restrictions. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to imagine streets filled with bodies. But I'm a realist. I've seen the medical reports Emily compiled: kidney failure, liver damage, cardiac stress. These aren't mild symptoms. These are life-threatening conditions. Can the affected people survive that long? Can their bodies handle the stress, the organ damage, the violence they're inflicting on themselves and others? Or will we find when this is over that most of them didn't make it? Even if someone survives the psychological effects of the chemical, even if they don't hurt themselves or get hurt by others, their body might still give out, might still shut down from the toxic load. It's 6:47 now. I need to talk about something Emily mentioned earlier. The company that owns Westfield, the one that contracted to burn all that pharmaceutical waste, they're not cooperating with investigators. They're hiding behind lawyers and corporate policy. I want to say their name. I want to put it on record. Meaty Corp Solutions, that's the pharmaceutical company, and Westfield Industrial Waste Management. Those are the entities responsible for this disaster. That's unacceptable. That's criminal. People are dying because of their negligence, and they're more concerned with liability than with helping us understand what we're dealing with. When this is over, when we're counting the dead and trying to rebuild, remember those names. Hold them accountable. Demand justice. Because if we don't, if we let them hide behind settlements and legal maneuvering, then this will happen again somewhere else. Companies cut corners because they can. Because the penalties for getting caught are less than the cost of doing things right. Because human lives are just numbers on a spreadsheet, acceptable losses in the pursuit of profit. That needs to change. This needs to be the incident that changes it. The water treatment plants are still operational, but they're running on minimal staff. There's concern that if key personnel are affected by the chemical, if they abandon their posts or become incapacitated, the treatment process could fail. If that happens, tap water could become contaminated with bacteria, chemicals, untreated sewage. Emily is handing me another note. She's been in contact with someone at the city's Emergency Operations Center. They're asking us to broadcast specific information about water safety, but I'm getting ahead of myself. First, survival. Then, just the same applies to electricity. The power grid is still functioning, but it's under strain. Rolling blackouts are likely. If your power goes out, don't panic. It might come back in a few hours. It might not. Be prepared for both scenarios. And ration your water usage. Don't waste it on things that aren't essential. Save it for drinking, basic hygiene, and cooking. We don't know how long this situation will last, and water is more critical than food for short-term survival. So, here's what you need to do. Start conserving water now. Fill bathtub sinks, any large containers you have. That gives you a reserve supply if the tap water becomes unsafe. Boil water before drinking if possible. That won't remove chemical contaminants, but it will kill biological threats. Have flashlights and batteries ready. Have a battery-powered or hand-crank radio so you can still receive information even if your phone dies and the internet goes down. Have candles, but be careful with open flames. The last thing you need is a house fire when the fire department can't respond. I've replied asking for details. We'll see if they respond. If they do, if the information is credible, I'll share it with you. Because knowledge is power. Understanding what we're dealing with might help us figure out how to counteract it. I'm looking at my email. There's a message from someone claiming to be a chemist who worked for Medicorp Solutions. They say they have information about what was burned at Westfield. They're willing to share it, but they want anonymity. They're afraid of retaliation. Someone sent a question via email. They're asking about pets again, but specifically about what to do if their pet has been exposed. If their dog or cat is showing aggression. I hate answering this. I really do. But here's the truth. If your pet has been affected by the chemical, if they've become aggressive and uncontrollable, you need to isolate them. Put them in a room by themselves. Don't try to comfort them or calm them. They're not thinking clearly. They could hurt you. It's 7:02 a.m. now. I've been back on the air for about 40 minutes. Emily is in the other room monitoring the scanner and the news feeds. She looks exhausted. We both are, but we can't stop. Not while people are depending on us. I'm not going to tell you to hurt your pet. I'm not going to give you instructions on that. But I need you to understand that an affected animal is just as dangerous as an affected person, maybe more so because animals have natural weapons. Teeth, claws, instincts honed by evolution. And if they escape confinement, if they're loose in your house and you can't safely recapture them, you might have to make a terrible decision. Your safety comes first. Your family's safety comes first. If they're in a cage or crate, that's better. Secure them there. Give them water within reach, but don't open the cage. Monitor them from a distance. Protect yourself. That's all I can say. The sun is fully up now. It's a beautiful morning, actually. Clear sky, crisp air, the kind of winter day that usually makes you grateful to be alive. But today that beauty feels like mockery, like the universe is indifferent to our suffering. Emily just came in. She says the National Guard has established checkpoints on all major highways leading out of the metropolitan area. They're not letting anyone through. There are reports of people trying to force their way past the checkpoints, ramming barriers with their cars, and the Guard is responding with force. But running doesn't work. The checkpoints prove that. You're not getting out. None of us are. So stop trying. Stop wasting energy and resources on escape attempts that will only get you hurt or killed. I understand why people are trying to leave. I understand the desperation. You're trapped in a city where the air might be poisoned, where your neighbors might be dangerous, where help isn't coming. Of course you want to get out. Of course you want to run. Rubber bullets, tear gas, warning shots. They're doing everything short of lethal force to maintain the perimeter. But if people keep trying to break through, if the situation escalates, lethal force might become necessary. It's harsh advice. It's not what you want to hear. But it's the truth. Accept where you are. Adapt to the situation. Focus on surviving in place rather than fleeing to safety that doesn't exist. I'm looking at the social media feeds Emily has been monitoring. There's a hashtag trending Westfield disaster. People are posting videos, photos, personal stories. Some of it is useful information. Some of it is rumor and speculation. Some of it is just fear made digital. One video in particular is getting a lot of attention. It was posted about an hour ago. It shows the sun rising over the eastern part of the city, and you can see the smoke still hanging in the air. Not the thick black smoke from last night, but a thin haze, yellowish gray drifting in the morning light. The video is only about 2 minutes long, but it's been viewed over 50,000 times. Shared across platforms. People outside the affected area watching our nightmare like it's entertainment. The person filming is doing so from their apartment balcony. They're speaking quietly, narrating what they see. Empty streets, abandoned cars, bodies lying motionless on sidewalks, and in the distance, figures moving, staggering, searching. I suppose I can't blame them. Humans have always been fascinated by disaster, by destruction, by the suffering of others. It's a way of processing fear, of convincing yourself that it won't happen to you. Maybe they're watching to learn, to prepare, to figure out what they should do if it happens where they live. But it could happen to them. If this is a systematic problem with pharmaceutical disposal, if other facilities are burning waste the same way Westfield did, then other cities could experience the same thing. Know where your local waste facilities are. Know what they're processing. Ask questions. Demand transparency. And if you smell something strange, if you see unusual smoke, get inside immediately and seal your house. If that's the case, here's what I'd tell them. Don't trust that regulations are being followed. Don't trust that safety measures are adequate. Don't trust that someone else is looking out for you. Don't wait for official warnings. Don't assume someone in authority will tell you when there's danger. By the time they make an announcement, it might be too late. Trust your instincts, trust your senses, and act quickly. This is Daniel Rothman, 104.7 FM. We're not going anywhere. It's 7:28 a.m. I need to take a short break. Just 5 minutes to drink some water, clear my head. Emily will take over for a moment, but I'll be right back. This is Emily. Daniel needed a moment. He's been pushing himself hard, and I want to make sure he doesn't collapse. We need him. You need him. While he's resting, I want to address something I've been thinking about, the psychological impact of what we're experiencing. Not just the immediate fear, but the long-term trauma. Emily's voice returns softer but steady. You're going to need support afterward. Professional help probably. Counseling, therapy, maybe medication to manage anxiety or depression. And that's okay. That's not weakness. That's a normal response to an abnormal situation. That's trauma. And trauma doesn't just go away when the danger passes. Even if you survive this physically unharmed, even if you never show symptoms of chemical exposure, you're going to carry this with you. The memory of this night, the fear, the helplessness, the sounds you heard, the things you saw. Don't try to tough it out alone. Don't tell yourself you should be fine because you survived. Survival is just the first step. Healing is the second. And look out for each other. When this is over, check on your neighbors. Check on your family members. Watch for signs that someone is struggling. Withdrawal, changes in behavior, substance abuse, self-harm. We're going to need each other to get through not just this crisis, but the aftermath. The months and years of processing what happened here. If you're feeling that way, if you're reaching a breaking point, please reach out, call someone, text someone, send an email. Don't suffer in silence. And if you can't get through to a crisis line, if the networks are too jammed, then talk to someone you trust. A friend, a family member, even talking to your pet helps. Just the act of verbalizing your fear, of putting it into words, can reduce its power over you. I'm seeing reports that mental health crisis lines are already overwhelmed. People calling in with panic attacks, suicidal thoughts, breakdowns, and those are people who haven't even been directly affected by the chemical. Just people who are scared, who feel trapped, who can't cope with the uncertainty. We're in this together. You're not alone, remember that. However isolated you feel physically, there are thousands of people in this city experiencing the same thing, feeling the same fear, facing the same uncertainty. Daniel is back. I can see him through the glass, settling into his chair, putting his headphones back on. He looks a little better, more focused. I'm going to hand it back to him now. Daniel returned. Thank you, Emily. I needed that. Just a few minutes to step away, to breathe, to remind myself that I'm still human and not just a voice on the radio. Why? What draws them together? Is it residual social instinct, or is it something else? Some property of the chemical that creates a hive-like behavior? It's 7:35 a.m. The morning is progressing, and with daylight comes information. People are venturing to their windows, documenting what they see, sharing it online. We're getting a clearer picture of the damage. The downtown core is largely abandoned. Businesses closed, streets empty, but there are pockets of activity. Groups of affected individuals congregating in certain areas, parks, parking lots, open spaces. Individual affected persons are a threat, yes, but they're manageable. You can barricade against one person. You can outmaneuver one person. But groups, coordinated groups, that's a different problem entirely. One observer posted that the affected individuals seem to be communicating with each other, not with words, with gestures, with sounds, coordinating in some rudimentary way. That's troubling. If they're organizing, if they're working together even unconsciously, they're more dangerous than we thought. Emily just showed me a message from the Emergency Operations Center. They're asking us to broadcast a specific warning. Here it is verbatim. I'm speculating again. I need to be careful about that. We don't have enough information to say definitively that they're organizing. It could just be coincidence, random clustering. But it's worth noting, worth watching. Do not attempt to venture outside for any reason. Do not attempt to reach affected family members or friends. Do not attempt to assist injured persons. The chemical concentration in outdoor air remains dangerous. All residents must remain indoors with windows and doors sealed. Violators of the shelter-in-place order may be subject to arrest and quarantine. That last part is interesting. Arrest and quarantine. So they're treating people who break the order as potential threats, as potential vectors for spreading the chemical exposure further. Makes sense from a public health standpoint, but it also means that if you go outside, if you're caught by authorities, you're not going home. You're going to some kind of detention facility, some kind of holding area where they can monitor you for symptoms. Or maybe it's just an empty threat, a way to keep people inside without having the resources to actually enforce it. How would that work? Where would they put everyone? The jails are probably full already from arrests last night. The hospitals are beyond capacity. Maybe they're setting up field hospitals, temporary camps, military-style operations. I don't know, I'm not a toxicologist, but I'd err on the side of caution. Just because you can't smell it doesn't mean it's safe. Stay inside regardless. I don't know, and that uncertainty is part of what makes this so difficult. We're making decisions without complete information, acting on assumptions that might be wrong. It's 7:51 a.m. I'm receiving reports that the chemical smell has dissipated in many areas. People are saying they can't detect it anymore. Does that mean the concentration has dropped to safe levels? Or does it just mean it's below the threshold of human olfaction but still present and dangerous? When they do, maybe we'll get real answers, real data, real solution. The CDC is supposedly sending a team of specialists, epidemiologists, chemical experts, people who understand airborne toxins and mass exposure events. They should arrive sometime this afternoon. Until then, we wait, we observe, we survive. But there will be lasting damage. The chemical compounds that were released last night, they didn't just disappear. They settled. They're in the soil now, in puddles and streams, on surfaces, in plants. Someone sent an email asking about the long-term environmental impact. What happens to the soil, the water, the ecosystem after a chemical event like this? That's a good question, one I hadn't even considered yet. We're so focused on immediate survival that we're not thinking about the lasting damage. And what about the food chain? Animals eating contaminated plants, predators eating contaminated prey, the bioaccumulation of toxins moving up the ecosystem. How long until they break down? How long until the environment is truly safe again? Weeks? Months? Years? We might be dealing with a dead zone, an area where nothing can safely live for an extended period, like Chernobyl, like the area around Fukushima. Our city might be uninhabitable long term. Even after the immediate crisis passes, even after the affected people are treated or dealt with, we might not be able to come back here. That's a depressing thought. This is our home. These are our streets, our neighborhoods, our memories. The idea that we might have to abandon it all, that this place might become a ghost town, a cautionary tale, it's almost too much to bear. But we'll deal with that when the time comes. Right now, focus on today, on this moment, or maybe it'll be empty political rhetoric. Thoughts and prayers, assurances that everything possible is being done. The usual script for disasters. It's 8:09 a.m., 3 hours since sunrise. The day is stretching ahead of us, long and uncertain. Emily is monitoring the news. She says the president is scheduled to make a statement at 10:00 a.m. Eastern Time. That's in less than 2 hours. Maybe he'll declare a federal emergency. Maybe he'll commit resources. Maybe he'll say something that gives us hope. All the systems we rely on, all the structures we trust to protect us, they failed. Utterly and completely. I try not to be cynical. I try to have faith in our institutions. But that faith has been tested over the past 9 hours. Tested and found wanting. Where were the regulations that should have prevented this? Where were the inspectors who should have caught safety violations? Where were the emergency plans that should have kicked in immediately? A caller just got through. Emily patched them through to me. A man named Richard. He says he's trapped in his office building downtown. He came in early for a meeting before the shelter-in-place order was issued. Now he can't get home. And now we're left to pick up the pieces. He says there are maybe a dozen other people in the building with him. They've barricaded the ground floor entrances. They have some food from the break room, water from the coolers, but no beds, no showers, no comfort. Richard asked me what he should do. Should they try to make a run for it, try to reach their cars in the parking garage, or stay put and hope help arrives? I told him to stay put. The building is secure. They have supplies. They're safer there than they would be on the streets, even in a car. The roads are dangerous. The affected people are unpredictable. And they can see affected people outside, pressing against the glass, trying to get in. He asked how long. How long will they have to stay? I told him I don't know. I told him the official timeline is 48 to 72 hours, but that's just an estimate. It could be longer. He was quiet for a moment, then he thanked me and hung up. I wonder if I gave him the right advice. I wonder if they'll actually be okay in that building, or if I just sentenced them to a slow death. But what else could I say? What other option did they have? This is the burden of being a voice of authority in a crisis. People trust you, they follow your guidance, and if you're wrong, if your advice leads to harm, you have to live with that. It's 8:29 a.m. The scanner is reporting a fire at a residential complex in the Brookfield area. Multiple buildings involved. No fire response because the area is too dangerous for crews to enter. The fire will burn until it runs out of fuel or until weather conditions change. Nothing anyone can do about it. I'm trying my best. I'm telling people what I genuinely believe is the safest course of action, but I could be wrong. I'm making it up as I go, just like everyone else. So I compartmentalize. I reduce it to data, a fire, a location, a problem without a solution. I can't think about that. If I think about that, if I let myself imagine the individuals, the families, the children, I'll break down. And I can't break down. Not while I'm on the air. How many people are in those buildings? How many are trapped, unable to escape because they're barricaded in their apartments? How many are going to die because help can't reach them? Emily handed me a printout. It's an article from a scientific journal about pharmaceutical combustion byproducts. Published in She found it in an online database. It's the only way to keep functioning. The article describes experiments where researchers burned various medications and analyzed the resulting compounds. They found hundreds of different chemicals in the smoke. Some were known toxins, some were novel compounds with unknown properties. This article was published 4 years ago. The science was known, the risks were understood, and yet Westfield went ahead and burned tons of medication anyway. The article concludes that incineration of pharmaceutical waste should only be done under strict conditions, with multiple filtration systems with continuous monitoring. It warns that improper disposal could lead to environmental contamination and public health hazards. Criminal negligence. That's what this is, and people need to go to prison for it. I'm exhausted. Emily is exhausted. But we're still here, still broadcasting, still doing our jobs. It's 8:47 a.m., almost 9 hours since I started broadcasting last night, almost 12 hours since the first reports came in, but that's for later. That's for the lawyers and the courts and the investigators. Right now, all that matters is getting through this. Years from now, people will look back on this event, they'll study it, they'll write papers and books about it. They'll try to understand how it happened and what we could have done differently. Because this is what we do. This is what journalists do. We inform, we witness, we document. Even when it's painful, even when it's frightening, even when we'd rather be anywhere else doing anything else, this is our responsibility to you, to the community, to history.